Morning, happy Wednesday to you. I'm excited to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. And I want to start it off with a little bit of a story. Marketing is almost everything in business. It will make sales easier and it also grows your business. And yet it's the thing that people don't talk about very much. We don't learn about marketing as we're going to whatever school we are or whatever training we're doing to learn. I'm going to give you a story for myself. I got into coaching. So my background's psychology, but I got into coaching because I wanted to help people in a different way. I wanted to help people in business. I wanted to help people who didn't want to just get back to normal, but wanted to increase normal, to push the boundaries of what they could succeed in life. And as I did that, I went through a bunch of training, and they didn't teach me how to market. They taught me how to sell. They taught me how to do other things, and I had to learn all this stuff for myself. But marketing is this big gap that everyone misses. I've got his statement, and I'm going to be very specific with this. It doesn't matter if you have a great product. It doesn't matter if you've got a great service. Your service or product do not sell themselves. So if they don't sell themselves, what do you need to do? You need to sell this. And in order to sell it, you need to get in front of people. So maybe I'll start off with a really quick definition of marketing. Marketing is basically how to become more visible. So how to get in front of more faces, how do more people see you? And there are many ways to do that, and I'll talk about some of them. And then the second part of marketing is how to become more trusted in these people that are seeing you. So how do you become more visible? How do more people see you? And then how do those people come to a place where they trust you? And you can see this all around you. There are types of marketing that don't work very well at all for most companies, and there are other types of marketing that work brilliantly. I'm going to talk about a bunch of those types, but I'm going to go back to my story a little bit. I realized a few years back that even though I was offering a better service, I was offering a far better coaching, far more in-depth coaching, and the quality was completely different. Even though I was doing that, I was looking around myself and seeing other coaches that were doing way better business than me. And I was really angry at first. I was like, there's something wrong with this. I've done all this work. I do a far better job. And yet these other coaches are getting clients that I'm not getting. Actually, this happened a few weeks back, and it just reminded me, okay, I've got to tweak my marketing again, because obviously it's not hitting people in the right way. What I realized was that these people are way stronger in marketing. Again, what is marketing? Getting visible, making sure that you're trusted by these people. I actually talk about, I've got a piece of paper in front of me. I've got a few things that I want to cover. And here are the questions. If you can answer these questions extremely well, and I'll talk about a few other ideas here, you will increase your marketing by enormous amounts. First, how well do you connect with others? How is your product? How is your service? How is it connecting with others? When you market something, whether it's an ad, whether it's a conversation, whatever it is, or your website, what is the wording? What is the specific copy that you're using on pages or ads? Because I was actually just talking to a client yesterday, and she's got this beautiful website that has a fantastic service for people who need it. And yet the wording is off. And it's not because she's bad with English or bad with wording. It's because marketing is a very unique language. You need to connect with people in a really unique way. Because when I'm buying a product or I'm buying a service, always put yourself in the other person's shoes. Always ask what's in it for them. When I put myself in someone else's shoes and I ask myself, what am I getting out of this? If it's not deeply personal, these days there's so much marketing out there. If it's not deeply personal, I'm not interested. I'm not interested, which brings me to a point that most new solopreneurs, entrepreneurs do not understand. You've got to work at this to understand it, and that is making sure you niche. Now, what is niching? What does it mean to niche or niche? It means that you are focusing on a very specific group of people. And I'm going to tell a story, and you can YouTube this guy. He created a company that's making a crazy amount of money now and doing really well, and he deserves this. He's worked hard for it. Basically what it was, and the concept that I'm bringing you is red ocean versus blue ocean. If you want to read a book called The Blue Ocean Strategy, feel free to read that. It'll give you lots of information. Having said that, I can wrap it up probably in about 3 minutes. The idea is that if you are in a field that's oversaturated, it's called a red ocean. At least this author calls it a red ocean. It's very difficult to create a market in there. It's very difficult to carve out your own market share. So one way around that is to create a blue ocean, create an ocean that is completely free. It's not oversaturated, it's completely undersaturated. It's not provided for in the same ways. Now, when you do that, if you can focus on creating a strategy where it's people aren't getting what they need, that changes everything. Here's the example. So this guy was in the field of personal training. Now, how many people are personal trainers? Everyone and their dog is a personal trainer. I'm in coaching. Everyone and their dog is a coach too, right? So and it's a similar industry in that you don't have to. Great trainers are worth their money. Great coaches are worth their money. Having said that, you can just hang a shingle on your door and you're a coach. You're a personal trainer. You don't need necessarily a certain amount of education or a certain amount of learning or experience. You can just hang your shingle on a door. So everyone and their dog is a personal trainer. And while there are some great ones, there are lots of terrible personal trainers out there. This guy was starting to realize that people were asking him and challenging him, saying, "You don't understand me. I'm somebody who's always been overweight. I've always struggled with this. You don't understand the way people look at me. You don't understand the depression and the anxiety and all the frustration and mental health issues and all this stuff. You don't understand how hard it is to do what you're telling me to do." And he was hearing this so often, he started to think to himself, wait a second, maybe this is true. Maybe I don't understand. So I'm going to try to understand. And what he did was over the course of 6 months, he gained weight. He did not exercise. He simply ate crazy amounts of crazy foods and gained a crazy amount of weight. And I don't even remember exactly how much. He video logged this. He put this out on YouTube, and you can check it. It's called Fit to Fat to Fit. And so over these months, he was gaining weight, and he was starting to struggle with depression and anxiety and other things he was going through. Now, at the end of that journey, the switch was that he had to get fit again. In the next 6 months, he was going to get back into shape. And again, he went through all these mental health concerns as he was trying to get fit again. And it was really hard for him. And he shares these struggles online. Now, here's a personal trainer in an oversaturated market where it's easy to find a trainer. It's difficult to find the right one. It's difficult to carve out your own place in this market. And what he did was because he connected with people and because he empathized with people, he was able to connect with these people and made a massive, massive difference. Not only that, he's making millions of dollars a year now doing what he's doing. He's training other personal trainers, how to connect with people who are struggling with weight and empathize with them and connect with them. Connection is huge. So his marketing tactic of going out and running this experiment on himself has made him millions of dollars. Why? Because he created a new ocean. He's now a guy who understands overweight people. He understands what they're going through because he's been there. Most personal trainers have not. So that's a way to create a blue ocean. There's lots that I could share about this. If you want more information on how to create blue oceans, on how to carve out a niche for yourself, go ahead, okay? Ask me questions. Please connect with me. I'm happy to help you out with this. This is something that I truly believe in changes people's businesses as they learn to communicate and connect with people. I'm also going to talk about other things. Most people, when they're getting into the business, believe they need to go broad. I don't want to cast a wide net, make sure no one that is possibly could be one of my clients or customers falls through. And I disagree with this absolutely. What I'm going to recommend is that instead of casting this wide net, I'll give you an example. If you cast a wide net, the holes are all a certain size, which means anything too big still breaks the net, and anything too small swims right through. So even though if you cast a wide net, you're still only catching a certain amount of fish. And it's the fish that suit the net. So what I would encourage you to do is instead of casting this wide net, get really specific. For example, rather than if you're in the, sorry, I could talk about personal trainers. If you're a personal trainer, rather than focusing on what everyone focuses on, this kind of activity or this activity, what if I've got somebody I know who comes to your house to train you? Now it fits a different group of people. And even more so, what I would suggest is get specific with your demographics and your psychographics. What I mean by this is demographics are age, sex, maybe culture, maybe where you live in some ways, geography. What psychographics are what people believe, what people value. If you can connect with what people value, that's the connection piece that I'm talking about. When you can connect with them on that level, you are building enormous amounts of trust. And when you build that amount of trust with people, you do what a master marketer, a guru in marketing called Seth Godin calls creating a tribe. You create a group of people that are passionate about what you do. And here's another thing, be polarizing. You don't have to satisfy everyone and make everyone happy with your message. It's okay if you offend a few people. It's okay if you have a few people that are like, yes, because if you don't offend a few people, you also won't have the other people on the other side of the continuum that say, this is what I need. This is what I need. Okay, what do I want to talk about? Make sure that you're challenging people in your marketing. Challenge people. If you don't ask really good questions that force somebody to think a little bit, they skip over your ad, they skip over your marketing very quickly. Force somebody to think. This can be as simple as your business card. This can be as simple as your website. Do something different. Do something that somebody asks themselves, wait a second, this is a little bit different. I need to pay attention. And they pay attention to your message. Next, build trust. And last, make sure that you satisfy people's curiosity. People are naturally curious. So if you put weird things, you see this on the internet all the time. Go for a search for 2 minutes on the internet and you'll find like one weird trick to lose body fat or like whatever. You find all these crazy things, and we're naturally curious creatures. We're very close to monkeys, right? So we'll be curious and we'll dive into that and get lost for the next half an hour. This is why Facebook, this is why social media works so well, because it piques curiosity in so many ways. Okay, next I want to talk about networking, because so many people think marketing is Facebook or social media, and that's not true. Social media is one small area of marketing. And it's also an area that's very difficult to get into. You need a lot of skills to work on it. I'm going to talk about a different area of marketing that can ramp up your business far faster, and that is networking. You have a group of people that you can connect with, but once you've completely helped that group of people, afterwards, who do you help? How do you grow? Well, there are lots of ways to do this. And again, exit interviews, I've talked about exit interviews before. If you want help with this and simply increasing your business through word of mouth, again, send me a message. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. But specifically, what we need to do in understanding business is to leverage other people's networks. If you're doing this all on your own, it's always going to be an upward battle. Now, make sure that you're leveraging other people's networks. When you do that, marketing can explode. Here's an example. When I was first a coach, I had a friend who was also coaching, he was also training, but in a different area than I was. And what he did was he kind of took me under his wing and he opened his network, thousands and thousands of people, to my message. Now what happened is, instead of me working for every single client I had, all of a sudden I had this massive group of people that I could market to. I love to do speaking engagements. Why? When I speak, I'm leveraging somebody else's work. They've worked to get the people into the room, and yet when I speak there, my message can go to all those people. And if I speak in front of 1,000 people, even better. 100,000 people, even better. So if you can leverage other people's networks, ask yourself, who in my network, who do I know who has a group of people that they've worked hard to build trust with? These people trust them, and I can be put in front of these people, and immediately some people are going to start trusting me. So that's a massive part of this. I'm going to talk one last thing about marketing. There's so many areas that I'd love to go in right now. One last area that I'm going to talk about marketing is your story. How do you tell your story? Again, I talked about curiosity a little earlier. When we tell stories, people become curious. People engage far more. If I give you stats, if you want to market, you've got to grow 20% in your market share by this amount in year 3, and that's boring. No one's interested in that. When you tell a story, people are engaged. I'm going to give you a really quick example. When I was in grade 2, I was told I was mentally retarded by a teacher. Now, how do you think that affected how I felt about myself? How do you think it affected my grade school? How I did in grade school? I didn't do very well, by the way. Now, I also believed about myself that I wasn't very good at learning, and that I didn't enjoy learning. Actually, what I didn't enjoy was school. I did enjoy learning, and you know what? As soon as I left school, after high school, I went to Sweden for a couple of years. And I started learning a new language. I started interacting with people in a different way, being introduced to new ideas, and I realized I love learning. I simply didn't enjoy school the way it was. Now, I did go back, got my undergrad, I got a master's degree in psychology. I did go back and learn, and I value education in many ways. But know that until something drastically changed in my life, until I realized I can learn and I want to learn, nothing changed. Having said that still affected me. That grade 2 teacher still affected me years later when I was getting into business, going, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm smart enough to do this. And what I realized, this is something really profound that affected me. The thing that changed for me was I started to come to a realization that it's not about my intelligence that grows my business. It's about my skill set in dealing with people. If I learn how to deal with people, if I learn how to communicate, if I learn how to connect with people, if I learn these things, these are skills anybody can learn, almost anybody can learn. I've met a few people that have a tough time. Almost anybody can learn these skills. Then all of a sudden, that's what's going to give me business success. And when I realized that and I started working on those things, all of a sudden I started procrastinating less. All of a sudden I started growing in all these unique ways. So what needed to change for me? This thing, it affected me in the past. And when I blew through that in some ways in Sweden, through other ways in China when I was learning, and through other ways when I went back to school and got good grades. But what really changed was when I started to understand how to build these skills. And the way I understood that was by hiring my first mentor and coach. His name is Ken Beaton, and he's honestly made a massive difference in my life. We're best friends now. We hang out, even though he lives across the country from me. We spend a lot of time together, and that's a really unique experience that I've had. Now, I've told a really quick story for you. How much more engaging is that as far as personal change and growth than giving you stats of how many people can change and specific things that they need to do? It's completely different. It's engaging. So I encourage you to engage with people, tell your story, know your story, be vulnerable, be willing to be vulnerable. It's a hard thing for a lot of people, but as you do that, you will have far more success. I always have more success when I'm vulnerable, and I talk about how I've felt terrible in the past, my failures. That always helps me. Okay, I want to wrap this up really quickly, and I want to give you a couple of action steps. One, I've talked about blue ocean strategies. I want you to discover your blue ocean. How can you tweak what you do in a specific way to hit people in a different way that connects with them far better? Secondly, I want you to start thinking, who do I know? Who do I know? Not do you know anybody? If you ask that question, you'll be like, I don't know anybody. I can't do this, right? That's the go-to with so many people. Ask yourself, who do I know that has a group of people that are ready for my product or service? When you ask that question, you can now leverage their network. And the way you are going to do that is you're going to see how you can provide them value. When I speak at somebody's seminar, I'm adding value because I've got things that I can say that people appreciate. I've had great reviews on my speaking engagements. But secondly, often people are looking for speakers. They need more speakers, and they want quality speakers. So I'm offering something value to them. They, in turn, give me an ability to speak from the stage and get in front of many people. So ask yourself, how can I add value to those people? And I've talked about a lot of things. Again, what I'm going to ask you to do is I talk about these things every Wednesday morning. Every Wednesday, 7 Mountain Standard, 9 a.m. Eastern. Come on Wednesday mornings, and I'll be sure to answer your questions. You can ask questions during the live calls here. Secondly, reach out to me through Facebook. I mean, either comment on this or reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer your questions. I'm happy to help you out with things. I love what I do. Thirdly, what I'm going to encourage you to do is if this video, if things like this are valuable to you, share it with others. We need to share the message of how to grow businesses, because we've got lots of struggling solopreneurs and small entrepreneurs that just with a little bit of help, a little bit of skill set, completely change their business around. And that's my mission. I want to completely change businesses. See the growth that it is inherent in people. We can all have the ability. What we just need to work on is the skill set. I appreciate the time. Thanks for coming. Enjoy your week.